What's the other one? What's the Corey Haim one I'm thinking of, where he pretends to be a girl to go to high school and gets in the shower?
I don't know about that. No.
That's one for your channel.
I'm Jay Harangue and I've wasted hours of my life watching terrible films.
You should subscribe.
Also known as Anything for Love, this is just one of the girls. And somehow, even though it came out in 1993, it's the most 80s film ever.
It is.
This is Chris, and he's the main character.
Hi.
He's a really talented musician. He's also a teenager with the hands of a 60-year-old man. Chris goes to Hamilton High, but he really wants to go to Bentley because they have a music program. His friend Dan goes there, and when he goes to hand in his application, he sees these cheerleaders fighting.
What are you looking at?
You got a good rate.
Does she?
No.
Anyway, when he and Dan are finished shopping for CDs, they bump into these guys. They're the bullies from Bentley High, and they start bullying Dan. Chris sticks up for Dan, but that's a mistake. The leader is this guy, Kurt.
I'm a nice guy, don't you think?
Not really.
Yo, Kurt, Baby-Rama.
In 3D, no less.
Luckily for Chris and Dan, Baby-Rama has distracted Kurt and his gang.
He goes to Bentley? Yeah. So I'm transferring to hell.
Yes.
Back at home, Chris's dad isn't too happy with Chris's decision to transfer to Bentley because he wants Chris to focus on science. But Chris is like, don't worry, Dad. At Bentley, there's a big winter showcase where loads of record labels go to scout for talent.
Psychiatrists have a word for something like this. Delusional.
In order to get onto this music program, Chris needs to submit his demo tape. He's off to submit it now, but while he's waiting for the bus, Kurt and his gang turn up. While they're checking his pockets for money, they find the tape. Chris is like, hey, give it back, but Kurt's like, no. Chris gets up and pushes Kurt's face into his car, which makes him drop the tape. Chris grabs it and runs off to see his sister at this women's clothes shop. But oh no, Kurt and the gang have pulled up outside and see him in there. There's nowhere to hide, but Chris has a plan.
How dare you?
That's right, Chris decides to put a wig on and women's clothes to avoid detection. Chris goes home, and when his dad hears that some guy is bullying his son, he shows him how to fight. Chris has been accepted into Bentley's music program now, and it's his first day at his new school. Kurt and his friends see him arrive, and Chris looks like he wants to fight. But when he sees Kurt sliding down this rail, he chickens out and escapes on the bus. But then he remembers how he got away from him last time. That's right, Chris is going to dress up as a girl so he can get past Kurt and into the school. His sister sees him in girl's clothes and she's like, what are you doing, Chris? He's like, I just need to get past the bullies. I'll change back before first period. So his sister helps him pick out a better outfit.
I couldn't even fool Stevie Wonder.
Don't worry, Chris. We've all seen worse.
Yep.
Incredibly, not only does Chris's plan work, but Kurt has a crush on him. It's time to change now, and this presents an issue. As a boy dressed as a girl, does he go into the boys' or the girls' bathroom? They're locked anyway, and it's almost class time. So on his way downstairs to another bathroom, he bumps into his music teacher, Mr. Carlson. Now that he's met his teacher as a girl, he has to keep this up. So here we are in music class. Yeah. Mr. Carlson tells the class there are only 60 days left until the big winter showcase. Later, Chris sees this girl Marie arguing with her boyfriend John. Marie's the cheerleader with the good right from earlier. They're arguing because Marie and John have been dating for a while now, and John wants to have sex, but Marie wants her first time to be special. When Chris sees Marie is upset, he follows her into the bathroom and asks if she's okay.
I heard what that guy said to you. What a jerk.
He offers to distract John while Marie escapes, so now they're best friends. Chris has decided that the best way to become Marie's boyfriend is to keep dressing up as a girl and pretending to be her friend.
Are you serious?
That way he can find out what she wants in a guy.
That never goes well.
But Chris has a problem. It's gym class next, and he needs to get out of that because he can't play sports against the girls. That would be unfair.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So he gets his friend Dan to write him a fake doctor's note.
Then you'll pull this week's locker room duty. Today you can mop the showers.
Locker room duty has worked out pretty well for Chris, because all the girls are walking around naked, and he's absolutely loving it.
Men would die for this opportunity.
He's so excited, he falls over. There are a few 80s and 90s movies where boys dress as girls to access female-only spaces. I'm just glad we've moved on from that sort of thing now.
Cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
When Chris gets home, his dad asks him how the fight went. Chris is like, yeah, I won.
I didn't think you had it in you. I'm proud of you, son.
Thanks.
The next day at school, Chris is telling Dan about yesterday's locker room duty.
It was the best moment of my life, Dad.
And as a bonus, cheerleading practice is starting now. Now, this doesn't look much like cheerleading to me. I'm certainly no expert, but as anyone who's watched my channel for a while will know, I've seen a lot of cheerleading movies. This just looks like some sort of rubbish 80s dance. Anyway, Marie asks Chris if he wants to sign up for cheerleading, because she thinks he's a real girl. But he's like, no, I can't dance. Marie's like, oh, that's a shame. You could have come to cheer camp with me and we could have shared a room.
Okay, I'll do it. I knew it. I fucking knew it.
Chris tells Marie that he's going to need lots of extra help to get the routines right, so that's the perfect excuse to be alone with her. At cheer practice, it's so obvious that Chris is a man, it's ridiculous. How is anyone convinced that this is a woman? Anyway, as a thanks for helping him learn the routines, Chris agrees to help Marie study for her algebra test, so he goes round to her house after school.
Yo, sis.
That's right, Marie is Kurt's sister, and he's still trying to get with Chris.
Did you ever let up?
Never. You interested?
Marie's like, sorry, Chris. My brother's always trying to shag my friends. Oh, and speaking of sex, looks like I'm going to have to do it with John, or he's going to end our relationship.
Boys will be boys.
The next day at school, Chris is seen perving on the girls by Ms. Glatt, the gym teacher. That night, he's out with Marie, and she's decided that tonight's the night she's going to have sex with John. So Chris is going to need a ride home.
So I'll take you home.
I'm afraid if you're driving, Kurt.
So you can drive.
The drive home is a bit awkward.
Oh, dear.
When they get to Chris's house, Kurt goes in for the kiss, and the next day, he tells everyone at school about it.
It's time to rotate the tires on the love machine.
Yeah! Chris is really pissed off about this, because he's been made to look like a slut. So Marie doesn't want to be around Kurt, so they're going to have to rehearse at Chris's house tonight.
That could backfire.
Later in gym class, Ms. Glatt notices Chris perving on the girls again, so she calls him into her office.
The way you look at girls, these things stick out. Nothing leaves this room. You have my word.
I mean, I don't have to go to jail?
Don't be ridiculous.
It's horrible. Living a lie?
Ms. Glatt thinks Chris is a lesbian, but Chris thinks she knows he's a boy in disguise.
I mean, if I had a boy dressing up as a girl in one of my classes...
You're a boy?
I'm a what? You are a boy!
Correctamundo.
Somehow, Chris manages to get Ms. Glatt to believe that he's got personal problems, which makes him pretend to be a girl, so she agrees not to say anything.
Wow.
It turns out that Marie refused to have sex with John last night, so he dumps her over the phone. It's time for Marie to go over to Chris's to study, and the next 10 minutes of the film are just Chris running up and down the stairs, dressing as a boy in front of his dad, but as a girl in front of Marie, and almost getting caught, but not getting caught. Pretty shit.
Yes.
Then Chris and Marie go separately to this party, where Chris, in disguise, somehow convinces Kurt that he loves the girl he thinks is Chris. So Kurt takes flowers round to his/her house.
Is this the Calder residence?
Yes, it is.
Is Chris home?
Chris is out for the evening.
I guess I'll leave these here then.
Chris's dad reads the card and is worried, because he thinks Chris could be gay.
Oh no!
So later that night, he confronts Chris about this.
Are you gay?
What?
It's okay if you are.
Dad, please.
He's like, look, Dad, I'm not gay. It's that bully from school again. He's trying to make you think I'm gay by bringing flowers round. But his dad's not totally convinced. The next day at school, after Chris has handed out some flyers for the big music showcase, he passes his audition for the cheerleading squad.
I don't see how.
So he'll be going to cheer camp. Ms. Glatt has caught wind of this, and she's like, Chris, you can't go to cheer camp. It's for girls, not boys pretending to be girls. He's like, okay, I promise I'll stop pretending to be a girl, but after cheer camp.
Okay.
Cut to cheer camp. Kurt is here too, because he needs to tell Chris he loves her, but he can't get into the building. Back at home, Chris's dad gets a call from Marie's mum.
Chris is a fine girl.
Chris?
You're even sharing a room at cheerleader camp.
Cheerleader camp?
So now he knows what's been going on.
He's been attending school as a girl.
It comes out that Chris's sister knew all about this. She's like, sorry, Dad, I just didn't think it was that serious.
He's dressing as a woman. How much more serious can it be?
It's about the bravest thing you can do.
And you must bow to these higher forms of life.
You are incredible.
Back at cheer camp, Chris tries to kiss Marie. Marie just thinks Chris is a normal lesbian, but she's not into it, so she storms out. But then in walk Chris's parents to bring him home. Chris's dad tells him that he'll be going back to Hamilton High. Chris is like, what about the winter showcase? But his dad doesn't care. Remember earlier when Kurt couldn't get into camp because he's a boy? Well, he's decided to dress up as a girl.
That doesn't look good.
He tells Marie how he's in love with Chris, but Marie's like, don't bother, she's a lesbian. But Kurt still thinks he can win her over.
All right.
Chris has decided that he's going to reveal his true identity at the pep rally, so he doesn't have to miss the winter showcase. Cut to the pep rally. The cheerleaders are performing their routine, and Kurt is perving on Chris from the bleachers. And now for Chris's big announcement.
I'm not a girl.
I'm not sure who's more horrified, Marie or Kurt.
What I thought was a bitch was nothing but a man.
Kurt's understandably pissed off with Chris, but he decides not to kick his head in because plot.
Right.
Marie, however, is furious and never wants to speak to Chris ever again. At an unspecified time later, we're at the winter showcase. As Chris is about to go on stage, Marie has turned up.
Come again?
Apparently she's over the whole "he dressed up as a girl to get me into bed" thing.
Oh, I see.
Then Chris plays us out with some awful 80s music he's made, even though this came out in the 90s, and that's the end of the film. So until next time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and check out this other video. Thank you.